Please welcome NBC correspondent Harry Smith.
My name is Harry Smith from NBC News, and welcome to this session of the Atlantic Festival. We're here to talk about a new series on Showtime called American Rust, based on the novel by Philip Meyer. And joining us now, Jeff Daniels and Dan Futterman. Jeff, you know, Dan, you know, for lots of different reasons, not the least of which is Dan's amazing role in Birdcage and being the incredible screenwriter of everything from Capote to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Jeff Daniels, we think, is coming back to work soon in New York, and we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later on. Good morning and good afternoon and good day to you both. Thank you for taking the time to chat.
Thank you.
Jeff, how did this novel, when did it first come on your screen, and what did you think or see or feel about it that you said, let's do this?
2009, I was in the city, New York City, and there was a reading of a new novel by a new author, debut novel, a guy named Philip Meyer. My agent at the time was, down the hall from the lit department, and they were either had Philip or they were chasing him. And Paul Martino said, let's go down and hear this guy read, because Paul was always looking for books in the event that maybe my career would get to a place where I could, get something made. And so we went down, listened to Philip read some of his book, met him, bought the book, read it, and said, yeah, this is something I could do. But I was in no position as an actor to get anything done. So we just kind of kept an eye on it. And then later on, I was in the middle of doing Mockingbird, and it came back saying, are you still interested? We knew you were attached at one time. And I contacted Dan and said, do you see something in this that remind me why I'm still, interested in this? Because it had been too long. It had been almost 10 years, and Dan loved it. And that's what got it going.
There is an authenticity to this that is undeniable if you're like me from the Rust Belt. Did you see that too, Jeff?
I did. I think more so now than maybe back then. I still live in Michigan. I'm around these people. I've kind of come to the conclusion that I am one of these people, that I grew up working class. I worked at my dad's lumber company. I was level, eye to eye with these guys, driving truck, making deliveries, and their worlds and their loves and their hates and their likes and dislikes. And I think that if the acting thing hadn't worked out and I didn't meet my wife of 42 years, Del Harris there are elements of Del Harris that would have been, yeah, cabin in the woods with a dog. Yeah. That's John Hyman's
I think I still
writer.
aspire to that.
I know. John Hyman wrote a movie I was in, and one of the lines is, hell is other people. And so I related. And then now with everything the country's going through, that there are people like these people who just are near the bottom or close enough where they can see it. They're still good people. All they did was work for the steel company for generations. Their father did, and then they leave. Same thing with the car companies in Detroit. These people are just looking for somebody to tell them the damn truth and maybe get a break once in a while, so they can live a normal, ordinary life. That's what I identified with.
Yeah. Dan, when you're confronted with a novel, as you've done in the past, or some extant piece of writing, say, all right, let's turn this into something. What was your biggest challenge especially in this context, American Rust?
Well, the book is so good. And yeah, Jeff came to me and he said, essentially, remind me what I love about this. Because it's hard when you're developing something for a lot of years, and Jeff was in and out of that process. You can lose touch with that. You can go down a kind of a rabbit hole. And Philip wrote this book in a kind of a first person that jumps from character to character, and so and a lot of interior monologue. And so you're for one, it was turning that into dialogue. And then there's a choice of um, what works and what doesn't on film. There's a choice of what relationships to develop essentially as they are in the book, or to change completely for various reasons. Um, the best email I got was when Philip saw the pilot and said, "Wow, uh, I love what you've done with this." I mean, what a pleasure and what a sigh of relief, because he wrote something beautiful, and you want to expand on it, but you don't want to screw it up.
Right. Dan, I think, especially from my perspective, as I say, coming from the Rust Belt, I see so many portrayals of that place that feel to me as not, well, I'll just say it, feel false, feel like we're from 30,000 feet and we're looking down on you some way. Dan, as a writer, what was your responsibility to actually give voice to the people that Jeff was describing just a little while ago?
Part of it is that a lot of the stories of middle America, I guess, are told, it seems to me, from an outsider's perspective, which is not necessarily a bad thing to do. There are great shows made like that. Ozark is one of them, where people from metropolitan area are plunked down for whatever reason in a foreign land, and so it's told essentially from their perspective. That's a terrific show. That's their choice, and that's fine. This is a very different kind of show. It's an insider view of it, and there's no, hopefully, no filter. um, Look, I don't think people are all that different from one another, and I wanted to try to inhabit each of the characters. As I was writing it, Adam Rapp is co-showrunner. Adam's from Joliet, Illinois, and so he was kind of
Ding, 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 ding.
yeah,
Wow.
he's like a truth tester,
That's that
in this.
place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the room. And his mom was he was raised by a single mom who is a prison nurse for many, many, many years. And so having Adam both in the room and writing scripts and doing some rewriting when it needed to be done was essential. And so there was a lot of, Adam, what do you think of this? And he'd say yes or no. Um, Both with expanded stories that we did, and with, with dialogue that was written from events in the novel. So people are people, and then also Adam is a is a huge, huge help.
For those who don't know, Joliet is home of Stateville Prison, and all you need to know is Stateville Prison to know the rest of the story. Jeff, I need to talk to you about this police chief you play, because he acts like he's the moral compass of this town, but at the same time, he's absent true north on his compass.
Sure.
He he it's very interesting because there's a scene in the show where they're in the medical examiner's room, and there are all the lines of all the bodies that have been collected, and the cause of death is drug overdose, drug overdose, drug overdose, drug overdose, drug overdose, and then finally a homicide. There isn't anyone, it seems to me, who's in this that isn't compromised in some way by drug use or drug abuse.
It's everywhere. Part of what I did to kind of get to that authenticity, I read countless books about the American overdose was one. Uh, I saw Alex Gibney's. Dan and I worked with Alex on Lewing Tower. I saw his documentary on the opioid crisis. It's there. It's there. It's the receptionist at the real estate office who's dealing crystal meth so she can put her kid through college. You're making choices that are bad in order to do a good thing. And that's kind of where Del Harris, he's trying to hang on to what is right. And yet he makes some choices on his way to getting whatever that is. And in this case, it's the undying love of a woman who's already broken his heart. It's wonderfully complicated and much. And I think back to your point, Harry, about middle of the country and how 30,000 feet looking down. They're just simpletons. They aren't that smart, and they deserve what they get. And that's not the people I live around in Michigan, and it's not these people. They're still good people, and they're still trying to hang on to a decency and a civility and a respect for each other, and trying to do what's right in a world full of wrong. And that's what got me really interested in playing him. The other thing too is we did an acting thing on this, which helped. We didn't want Hollywood polish. We didn't want it to be that thing where it feels false. We want you to feel like you're a fly on the wall. We want the actors to forget the camera and just talk to each other. And so there was an acting approach to this that really kind of non-rehearsal, bare staging, where you're going to go, roll camera, and it happens in front of the camera. When it happens in front of the camera, you're connected with each other, which is different than leaning towards the camera in a close-up and beautiful lighting, even though you're in the middle of Southwest Pennsylvania.
Can I say just some? Can I say something just about the drug? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, because I'm
I
going
want to say
to
something
bring
about
up
the drug.
Pennsylvania again, because Pennsylvania ends up being a major character in this whole series. But go ahead, Dan.
Oh yeah.
I just want to say something about the drug use. There's a line in the pilot where the judge says, everybody in the hollers on one thing or another. To me, this is a comment not just about illicit drugs, and it's a comment about America generally. I mean, what he's referring to, he's on diabetes medication. He just injected himself in the stomach with insulin. Grace is taking Advil. I am on two different medications, one for heart condition and one for seizure disorder. My wife takes something else. I bet you guys are on something. It's a and how many kids do we know are on some ADD medication? Or it's a comment about America, not just about this place where, yes, there's also an opioid issue. And so I there have been some comments about this, and I think a misunderstanding about this, that, oh, everybody's on opioids in the show, and it's absolutely not true. It's America has a prescription drug issue that is absolutely pervasive, and that's part of what I was saying about not looking down on this. This speaks to everywhere. This speaks to Brooklyn, where I'm living, in different ways than it may speak to Southwest Pennsylvania, but it speaks to it.
It is. So let's talk about Pennsylvania for a second, because the novelist, Philip Meyer, is from the Baltimore area, but he saw some of this decline that we've seen all over the country. It's even it's rural America. It's all over the place. But he said, I don't want this in Baltimore. So he goes to do this discovery in the Pittsburgh area. And to be able to see these things, those hills, the Monongahela River, the rusted out hulks of former industrial America, from my perspective, creates its own character and gives that extra level of authenticity to all of this. Jeff.
Exactly. It's as much a character in the thing as I am. It really is. It was essential that we shoot it there, and I was glad Showtime stuck to their guns and put it there, even in the middle of the pandemic. They could have taken it somewhere else, but they didn't. And you're right. That's we point everywhere we point the camera, you see it. You see that character of Southwest Pennsylvania.
Dan.
Yeah, and not just in visuals. And Buell is made up of a number of different towns around the Monongahela the Valley, but also in the actors. We had a lot of local actors. There's a big community in Pittsburgh, a big theater community who had not worked in a long time, because theaters were shut and the film business was shut. And we were thrilled to have them. They were happy to have the work, and they add a level of authenticity to this that I was really delighted by.
Um, let me just ask Jeff one more question, because as I've said earlier, he used to have a job here in New York, and I understand. Are you coming back to that job, or do you want to come back to that job?
I am back in that job. We're 2 weeks into rehearsal of the remount for To Kill a Mockingbird that I'm doing with Celia Keenan Bolger, who played Scout. She won the Tony for it. So the two of us have come back, and a mix of a few of the original people, some new people, and some of the people from Ed Harris's cast, who was playing Atticus when the pandemic hit. So I'm very happy to come back. I'm going to be in it for 3 months until January 2nd, and especially with where the country is now. When I did it before for a year, it was before the election, before George Floyd, uh, before all of that. I'm real interested to see the power of the play, and what Bart Shear is doing with the little bit of restaging. Aaron Sorkin's done some little touch-ups on the script. It has the chance to be as powerful, if not more powerful, a production than before, simply because of the way that we're addressing white blindness, which is something that everybody in the country is now aware of.
Isn't it something to think about a novel that was written that long ago that is, from that perspective, as current as the second it was written, and that we're still living with and
Yeah,
very
and
much
and even
around
more
us
so
still.
with after George Floyd's murder, it's white people are called on the carpet, and yes, this is a white point of view from the book and from Aaron Sorkin and from me. It's a white point of view, and we're doing the show predominantly for a white audience every night on Broadway, pretty much. And they're the ones who need to hear it. Some of them were preaching to the choir, but there are others that are confronting the fact that maybe they weren't aware. Maybe they should read some Isabel Wilkerson and Carol Anderson and Ta-Nehisi
Oh,
Coates. Maybe they should get caught up with what's really went on in America, and maybe this new America that we're all headed towards maybe I have to stand up just like Atticus Finch does in Aaron's play of the book. Maybe I need to stand up and be counted as someone who wants to wants to right the original sin, which is, right or wrong, that's been going on for 400 years.
well, that sounds like a benediction to me. This has been a session of the Atlantic Festival. Jeff Daniels, Dan Futterman. I got some goosebumps at the end there, pal. Really good to see you both. And there's so much more that can be seen in the Atlantic Festival. I'm Harry Smith from NBC News, and we thank you for joining us.